surface, White Knight is a stylistic survival horror game set in a haunted mansion. But after scratching away all those box quote bullet points, White Knight is an adventure game at heart about death, attraction, familial resentment, and the true meaning of regret and punishment. What I was expecting out of White Knight was quite frankly a jump scare fiasco that looked pretty and not much else. But what was given to me was exponentially more interesting. What I got was a game that wasn't afraid to put horror aside to tell a true love story that was equal parts engrossing and disturbing. Is this a survival horror game? Somewhat, but that's the entire reason why White Knight is so special. In a land of oversaturation in the indie space, especially in the survival horror genre that seems to be filled with developers begging for YouTubers to play their game, White Knight acts as a beacon of hope. It doesn't define itself by the number of jump scares it cultivates. Rather, it's more interested in making an homage to the adventure genre of yesteryear while creating something uniquely special and beautiful. As soon as the opening credits start, the upcoming experience becomes quite clear. Black and white aesthetics splatter the screen and a 1930 noir-inspired retrospective voiceover starts to roll, creating a gritty vibe with a thick layer of mystery. Mystery is the key word here. White Knight really does focus on the aspect of giving the player little to no advice in terms of story cues and hints. You're thrown right into the action when your car crashes into a tree after a night of drinking, and your character has to find help inside of a mansion that's nearby the crash site. Nothing is given to you except for the quick explanation of what each button does, and that's it. From there on your own. No hint system of dialogue, clues, or glowing areas to show where to go next. This is a game all about being lost, dazed, and confused. The lack of hints benefits the game and adds to the game's overall immersive tone. Even when the story might not have been particularly engaging, the presentation sure was. The way that the designers play with darkness and light as a tool to create a mood of despair and eventually hope when light arrives is amazing. Since the game really deters the player from the darkness, considering that if you stay in the darkness long enough, premonitions destroy you, the mere sight of a lamp or pack of matches made my heart skip a beat. I guess in that sense, this is a true survival horror tale. There's definitely a limited supply of matches that need to be conserved, especially in the later chapters, and you have to use the light to destroy the, mild spoilers, ghosts. I also love that the way the ghost looked. At heart, this is a ghost tale, but when I think of ghosts, I think of a person with a sheet over their body with eye holes cut out screaming boo. These ghosts are premonitions, as the game describes them as, are translucent humans that are dirty in terms of their appearance with flies all around them and ragged clothing. All of them look disheveled and broken, which is almost a realistic way of creating ghosts. These people are dead, so it would make sense that they wouldn't be in the best state even in the afterlife. White Knight often uses the written word to tell its story. Throughout the game, there are dozens of books scattered around that tell a story about the people that once lived in the house. Some of the ways the lore is delivered are through diaries, letters, news reports, and photo galleries. The written and photographic backstory comprises the stories of the family that once lived in the house, and slowly but surely, they start to reveal the reason as to why premonitions haunt the mansion. This is a generally effective way to convey a story that can't be explicitly transmitted without breaking the flow of the mystery. However, I often found many of the books or notes to be irrelevant to the story. A lot of them already explain previously established ideas like the craziness of someone or the beauty of something. There's so many books and many of them were extremely redundant that I stopped reading them by the third act due to the sheer amount of lore the game shoehorns in that really doesn't need to be included. I felt like seeing the story unravel in a visual sense was way more clear and compelling when it was told through the photos than this unruly amount of written backstory. Story-wise, the first half of the game got off to a very slow and sometimes monotonous start, but the second half makes up for that more. There's a twist that I won't spoil it for you, but it's something that's extremely interesting and reinvigorated my entire interest in the game and flipped the tone of White Knight for the better. After the twist, White Knight becomes the game that it really wanted to be from the beginning. It becomes more focused on its story, characters are far more fascinating, and the overall tone becomes far more desperate and dire than the first half. Whatever your initial thoughts about the story are from the beginning, changed by the latter half of the game, and it's really an engrossing event. While the story finds its home in the second half of the game, realizing its full potential, the gameplay is continually inconsistent. Since this is an adventure game, 90% of the gameplay is solving environmental-based puzzles. The majority of these puzzles are not very clever and become extremely frustrating more often than not. Times when I was lost about what to do were not because of a puzzle that was above me intellectually, but because of a weird fixed camera angle. White Knight at heart is a cinematic tale, so the entire game uses a fixed camera perspective. And to be honest, if this game were to be an over-the-shoulder third-person camera rather than a fixed camera, this probably would have been an amazing game. There's something always wrong with the camera. When I'm running away from ghosts, which you do frequently in this game, the camera is almost always in a weird spot that forces me on the fly to change the way I'm running, and it will result in you dying countless times. There's also the times when the camera is being blocked by an enemy and you can't do anything but just be at the mercy of the camera in the game. There have also been countless times when I'm running around like a chicken with its head cut off, looking for a light switch, but it was right in front of me the entire time. The camera was just too far away for me to see it.
A silver coin.
White Knight by face value might not look special, but it really is. It's a game with an amazing story that truly interested me and kept the experience from becoming overly drawn out. The presentation is also impeccable, with visual flavor spewing from all corners of the screen. Take all that away, however, and you're left with a game that's bogged down by a finicky camera with awful depth perception, frustrating puzzles, and a very boring first half. Even with its faults, I still had a very good time with White Knight, but one I left wanting to be more polished.